Greetings. Greetings. So, today we are going to talk about Jupiter. So, in our Mars and Stars series, we move through the planets, and the reason why I picked Mars and Stars is because I started doing it on Tuesdays, and will mostly be posting these videos on Tuesdays for my YouTube people because it sounds cool. Mars and Stars. But also we'll be progressing through the week and through different star clusters and through different star stories. And this week I decided to focus on Jupiter because it was a Thursday when I came up with it. And other things. Not when I came up with it, when the thought occurred to me. So, Jupiter it is. Jupiter, one of the great mothers. So, there are stories coming out throughout the realms, but through social media and through the internet and even through less social media type of places, groups, and in small classes like the ones I try to share, where the truth of the great mothers and the matriarchal mothers and how they saw the planets really surfacing. And one of them is that the sun, and we've talked about this through different videos I've shared around the goddesses, but that the sun was female. And so I had a remembrance that they're all female. All the planets are female first, and then became eventually male. Jupiter being one of them. Okay, so Jupiter, and I did a small video around Jupiter, but we're going to go into a little bit more depth and go into the names of some of these moons, who these great mothers are, especially in another video for members only. Okay, so with Great Mother Jupiter, the Great Mother of the sky, and before Jupiter was masculinized, which became Zeus and Jupiter, many ancient cultures saw the large roaming lights as a female ancestor or cosmic womb. And Jupiter was considered a pregnant star in early Mesoamerican sky stories. In indigenous Andean communities, they called this planet, and other planets, star mothers who are moving. We talked about this a little bit before with the Mars, and how Mars was considered a moving star because planet means, if I remember correctly, planet means moving star. I'm not sure. I might be quoting myself, but planet means moving. Okay. Then we have Jupiter as the timekeeper. We've heard about this one, or a keeper of cycles, 9 to 10 moons, but actually it has many more than that. Harvests and storms. Okay. And it is in some stories linked to where ancestors go to Jupiter, and stories of ancient Shah people, Shah women, medicine women, peoples tracked Jupiter before they started tracking the sun. And this is what makes me wonder if we've moved positions within the cosmos, and that might be a story that links to some of the big changes that have happened on this planet, and or that the cosmos around us shifted positions to where certain things, planets as we call them, including the sun, might be in different positions, because there are other stories where Venus was followed more than any other, and then Sirius was followed more than any other. So just putting that out there. Okay, this is a great mother. And so I'm going to share some of the quote-unquote daughters of Jupiter, Some are in stories and some are the moons. So again, 95 moons, and Jupiter tends to keep getting more moons, which I just find fascinating. I had heard a long time ago that moons help to stabilize the planet, and Jupiter is huge. So is it used to stabilize planets? Maybe. Okay, I don't know. Anyhow, okay, so Himalaya is linked to, and this is one of the names of the moons of Jupiter. Himalaya is linked to the mountain mothers and a fertile earth, and we've heard about the Himalayas. Is this who they were named after? Okay. Karme, a goddess of harvest, sacrifice, offering, and very mother-coded. Karme. Okay. And then we have Anarchy. Anarchy. Ananke. Almost like Anunnaki. Anarchy. Ananke. Okay. I have some affirmation tones going on there. Primordial necessity and a cosmic spinner. Almost like a web or a pattern creator. All right. And we have Dia, divine shining mother. A Dia is also another word for day in our own linguistics on this planet right now. Okay. Also dawn and sky. Dia is mentioned twice. So there are 2 moons named Dia. One dawn and sky, one representing dawn and sky, and one representing the divine shining mother. So I find that interesting. Okay, and so again, we have a patriarchal rewrite around. So I will, in the members only video, I go deeper into the names of the moons, relate him to some modern day stories or links to goddesses known in other parts of the world and our own, and link also some stars around Jupiter. Okay, but from here we're moving on just a little bit. There's a theory. So all the moons are named for great mothers or daughters, and they're considered, the story is linked to moons being daughters of Jupiter, although Jupiter may be a daughter of those moons. Okay, so there are other things that then start linking to the patriarchal side of Jupiter and kind of start making Jupiter not cool, right? Because we're going to go back to the moons a little bit. The moons came to Jupiter. They like keep showing up. I find that fascinating. So where the male depiction of Jupiter is like he's stolen daughters, abduction myths, love affairs, and then even punishment stories. And then so like Matisse, which is another one of the names of the daughters, is swallowed in Greek mythology by Jupiter. Is this where this come from? Because of the moons around Jupiter? And if we're going back to like Greek myths and stories, again, we're seeing stories linked to the planets. Our week is named after planets. This is how important planets have always been. This is where astrology comes in, even though I think it's very patriarchal and colonized because of how we're taught, and it doesn't really put us on Earth, which is where we are at, and we would have included Earth in our original, our star scene, because we don't see the stars without being here. And so you can imagine like what Earth might look like out there. So when it comes to her and these rewrites, like, it always gives me so many questions, because I think it starts to point out some truths that we've been told are myth, and then kind of shows what isn't realistic on another level. Okay, like the stories of eating their children. Is this from the moons coming to and then disappearing, getting swallowed up by the gravity of Jupiter? And then we have the stories of like Mars's moons, which one is supposed to be going towards it and another one is supposed to be moving away from it. So what actually do we know about physics when it comes to that and these types of phenomenons? It's the best way to say it. Or Great Mother's uniqueness, right? Okay, so also we heard that in some stories the moons are wives. They're in servitude to this big male planet. No, it's a great mother, and if anything those are her daughters, or it's the other way around where those are all great mother moons and Jupiter is a creation of those moons, so to speak. Okay, and then we have where time comes in with Jupiter, and just some questions around, like, mostly women. There are some moons named after males, but astronomers are the ones who choose the names. I just find that also pretty interesting. Okay, so a few goddesses linked. So Metis is a primordial wisdom mother. She is swallowed by Zeus, aka Jupiter, but she represents intuition, feminine power, and hidden knowledge. And oftentimes sometimes things will get swallowed because they know they will come back out and you can retrieve it. It might be a little soiled and been through a big process, but it comes back out. So in the idea of Metis being swallowed or like hidden, this is where I'm just linking that part. Like, just because you swallow something doesn't mean it's gone forever. And maybe a primordial being would have survived that in a way that isn't shared in the myth. Okay, and let's see. We're going to do Europa. This is another daughter. It was a moon of another moon. I said another daughter, another moon. This moon is of water, ice. It even has oceans. And it represents, in my theory, it represents the emotions around a great mother. The representations, because the water is in different forms, all on one planet, similar to ours. Okay, that's a great mother. And then we will do Carme, since I mentioned her before. Harvest mother. So this is another one of the moons, and she is also called the giver. So it represents abundance, food, sovereignty, and the earth connection. But it's always going to be an earth connection as long as we've looked outside into the skies, given these planets names, stories, and linked them back to us. This is an example where the astronomers are getting the names for the moons from these stories and sharing them in the sky. And we're not taught. This is not for everybody's information. All right. So that's a short video for everyone around Jupiter and the stars. I'm gonna mention a few stars around and near Jupiter during, when when we can see it. My favorites. Ones I've already spoken about. Okay, so this is where Jupiter always travels along the elliptic path, and this is the same path as the sun and the moon. Okay, and so we also figured that out a long time ago, and might be why it was considered to be followed more than even the sun and the moon, because it followed in similar path. There, now the constellations. Aldebaran, which I've talked about, because Aldebaran is, I say Aldebaran, that's Aldebaran. Aldebaran is a brighter red star between the Pleiades and what is considered the club or arrow of Orion. It's a red star, and it is considered the red eye of the constellation Taurus. So Jupiter will also be, Jupiter is near the constellation we call Taurus. And in Taurus is Aldebaran, also the Pleiades, and then Hyades, the ancient rain-bringer star. Hades, Hyades, either Hades or Hyades, okay? And then we also have Bellatrix and Betelgeuse. These are Orion's upper stars. And so Orion, Taurus, the Pleiades, and Aldebaran. They're all linked to the constellation Taurus, but mostly want to bring in those stars that are near Jupiter. And you can see how some of the stories that we've now been told can link back to those same stars and stories, linking even to Jupiter. Okay, and then it also goes near Aries, Hamal and Chertan. And Hamal is the brightest star in Aries. I will do some more. And then Gemini, Castor and Pollux. And this story, yes, they're twins, but they were daughters before Castor and Pollux were the twins. Okay, so because Jupiter flows in the same path as the moon and the sun, each constellation that we're aware of, so Virgo, Leo, Aquarius, the stars that are linked to those are mentioned, and that's why I mentioned in those stars, Castor and Pollux. And then in the Pisces, I feel like that should be a whole nother video where we go really into each constellation and point out each of their stars. I'll have to rewatch this video and remember that. Remind me. Okay, so Jupiter passes through each of those constellations. Okay, so those are the stars I'm mentioning for now. We will do a longer and more in-depth video around each stars in those constellations, but I wanted to get out the major stars that are connected to Jupiter. And to kind of conclude the stars, there is also the galactic center near SGRA. So this is in Sagittarius. We have Nunki, Caus, Australis, and the galactic center. And the galactic center is near SGRA, which is a star. All right. And we can consider that the womb of the galaxy, which is also one of the names of Jupiter, the mother or the womb of the galaxy. And this is why Jupiter is tied to creation, timekeeping, motherhood, portals, ancient knowledge, and cosmic birth. So that is today's short video around Jupiter, her many, many moons, and the stars that she graces as she's moving through the sky, some of the stars. So for the next video, for members only, I go a little deeper into the stars, a little bit more around Jupiter and some of the stories, and more of the moons and those great daughters, myths, quote unquote, and stories. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Until next time.